BBC News. On this programme last year, in an exclusive interview, British Olympic hopeful Tom Bosworth came out as gay. He told us he didn't want his preparations for this summer's Games in Rio being overshadowed by his personal life. He's one of only 2 British track and field athletes to come out. Now the government's Culture, Media and Sport Committee has begun an inquiry into why so few professional sportsmen and women feel comfortable talking openly about their sexuality. Here's what Tom Bosworth told me about how rare it is for gay athletes to come out.
In sport, I don't think being gay is still a normal thing.
Why?
That's a good question. I can't tell you why. I don't think I have an answer for that, because in most other things now it's very normal to have a gay colleague, have teachers, anything, any sort of line of work. It's very common, but to be open, but in sport it's not.
I wonder why. I mean, I'm just trying to explore this with you. Is it something to do with some kind of macho competitive culture, do you think?
Quite possibly. In sport, you've got to succeed, you've got to look strong. You're individually in athletics, you're out there on your own, and so any sort of weakness that people might be able to use, and to me it's not a weakness, but some people might see it like that, and so they don't want to be attacked, think that they might be attacked for it, or somebody might use it against them, and that's a shame if they worry about that and feel like that. I've had some negativity from a few athletes in the past, a long time ago now, and they crop up occasionally, I guess, because not everybody sees the world through my eyes and through what I hope most people see, how they see the world. But yeah, that was difficult, and got called some really nasty names. And
like what?
Well, they wouldn't call me by my name, so they would literally refer to me as fag, as queer, any of those. There's plenty more you can go through, and that's how they would direct a conversation to me, and they would find themselves funny, I think.
Tom Bosworth talking to us in an exclusive interview last year. Let's talk now to Matt Lister. He's a Team GB canoe slalom athlete and also LGBT ambassador for the British Athletes Commission. Sophie Cook is the club photographer for AFC Bournemouth. She's the first trans person to work in the Premier League. And John Nicholson is an SNP MP and a member of the Culture, Media and Sport Committee. He pushed the committee to take on the inquiry into homophobia in sport. We've also got Dr Jamie Cleland, who's at Loughborough Uni. He's giving evidence to the inquiry, mainly on the culture of football and homophobia. Welcome, all of you. Mr Nicholson, why did you push for this inquiry?
Well, there's a real problem, isn't there? I think it was highlighted when the BBC decided to put Tyson Fury into its the very select group of people who get nominated for Sports Personality of the Year. Now, this is a man who said he wanted to go home and break his wife's jaw on Twitter, and also said that he thought that all gay people should be shot dead. Now, it seemed to me that was appalling that the BBC took that decision, and after Tony Hall defended it before our committee, which is not government, by the way, it's independent, I said to my fellow members, the BBC's got a problem with this. I think society has a problem with this. Let's have a hearing and let's find out what's going on.
OK. Sophie, tell us about your experience working as the club photographer this season for ASC Bournemouth as the first trans person to work in the Premier League.
The thing is, before I came out, I was absolutely terrified that, first of all, that I'd lose my job, and secondly, that I would get loads of abuse from the fans. But the reality hasn't been that. The reality has been that I've felt this amazing outpouring of love and support from the fans. And in fact, we played Man City the other week, and just as they're about to kick off, this woman runs all the way down from the back of the stand, taps me on the shoulder and goes, "You look amazing, by the way." And it's like, and after my story came out in the press, people coming up to me and shaking my hand and saying, "Good on you, well done, I'm really glad you're happy."
Have you had any abuse?
There's been a few little incidents, mainly just from kids who don't know any better. But the thing is, it's not football's problem, it's society's problem. If there's bigotry in society, there's going to be bigotry in sport. And I get a lot more abuse on the streets. I mean, last year...
Than inside a football ground?
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
all season I've had like 4 or 5 incidents, whereas last year at Brighton Pride I had 10 incidents in 2 days.
Just from members of the public who were watching the floats go by?
Yeah, just drunk people, basically.
Yeah, fair enough. Matt, what is your view about why there are so few out professional sportsmen and women?
I
I think, again, echoing what Sophie had said, it's very much is a problem within society, and so many footballers and other athletes, especially within, well, not so much within my sport because we aren't as high profile as other sports.
Yeah.
But within high profile sports, it can very much affect the way you think about your training, the way you focus on the course or on the pitch, and you don't want to be distracted from what the overall job is. At the end of the day, you're aiming for that gold medal or for that #1 spot, and you just do your best to really make sure that that is your focus, and you try and distract the rest.
Don't you think that football and sport lags behind society in general? I think that's the principal problem, because on a day-to-day basis, when I sit in Parliament, I'm a gay man myself, I sit in Parliament, I never get any abuse. And Parliament used to be very backward. It wasn't that long ago that we, in Parliament, obviously long before I was there, passed Clause 28.
Yeah.
Can't imagine that happening now. You get, in fact, my own party is the gayest parliamentary party of any party in the world, and we've made Westminster the gayest parliament in the world as a result of that. So what is it about sport and football in particular that lags so far behind politics, journalism,
Well, let's ask Jamie Cleland then.
every other branch of society?
Jamie Cleland, what's your view? Because you've done research into specifically this.
Exactly, and I think the research that I've found and conducted, it supports some of these major surveys, such as the British Social Attitudes Survey, which is finding a decrease in attitudes of homophobia. So if you think of the high homophobic period of the 1980s through to now, the British Social Attitudes Survey suggests that just 1/5 of people have homophobic or don't necessarily agree with same-sex relationships. I find the same sort of thing in the culture of football. My research looks at the external environment of football, so fans who go to matches, fans who engage in discussions online, and also media journalists. And what I'm finding is a changing cultural context. The culture of football is not as homophobic as what it was in 1990 when Justine Fashanu came out.
Right. So do you think then it's only a matter of time, Jamie, before a British footballer comes out in the top echelons, you know, in the Premier League, in the Scottish Premier League or the English Premier League?
Well, I think that they are high-profile footballers who have come out. Unfortunately, most of them have come out after retirement.
After retirement. I mean, sorry, I should have made that clear. I mean currently playing.
Yes, I think there's questions to be asked of the internal culture of football.
Meaning what?
In terms of the ways that the role of the agents, the role of clubs, the role of what support is put in place by, say, the Professional Footballers Association, what is put in place by the FA, because there are probably a number of footballers and sportsmen and women who want to come out but don't necessarily have the confidence to do so. And I think there's questions to be asked of the internal culture of sport in general to make it a more of a supported environment for those who actually do want to come out.
Right. Well, Sophie, was there much support internally from your club?
The club were amazing. Effectively, they treated me exactly the same as I was before, which really, when you come out, is all you can ask for.
And actually, you'd thought you wouldn't necessarily be going back to your job as a club photographer once you'd come out, didn't you?
I was terrified when I was still on the pitch at Charlton Athletics ground last season as we were crowned Football League champions, terrified that it was going to be my last ever football match.
Wow.
But the reality has been amazing. And
Great to hear, isn't it?
And the thing is, our players have been absolutely wonderful, and I think that the culture of the players and the culture of the sport is actually... There's a thirst for this, and there's a thirst to make it right.
And the reason that this matters is because we know that young gay men are the largest single group of suicides in the country. Now, they must ask themselves when they're being bullied in the playground and feeling desperate, if rich, successful footballers can't come out, what hope is there for me? And that's why it's very important that we get role models coming out, just normalising the process of coming out so that kids feel that they can go to their teachers, stand up for themselves, and so that the bullies realise that it's no longer acceptable because their heroes are gay and openly gay.
What do you think about that, Matt? This idea that if people in your, as an Olympian or a professional footballer, if they come out, that will really have an impact on young adults?
I totally agree. I've actually done some work with Stonewall, with the Stonewall School programme, Role Models programme. And I've talked to kids, and you go into the school, and the first thing you say is like, "Hi, my name's Matt Lister. I'm a LGBT person." and you hear the little sniggers and you hear little bits, and then you turn around and say, and I am a world bronze medalist, I am the youth Olympic champion, I have done all these, I've had these amazing accolades behind me, and then suddenly you see that, like, there's a few faces lean forward and people start really engaging with you, and then it completely changes the perception of what it is to be gay, because I think a lot of young people see it from the eyes of the bullies because that's all they see within school, and that's what is very much projected throughout schools.
I don't want to... we have talked a lot about football, but I am just going to ask this question. What do we... Because the argument always goes, well, look, if a footballer in the Premier League came out, the abuse from opposition fans in particular, and possibly even home supporters, would be horrendous. It would be awful for them. Do any of us actually think it would be horrific now?
No,
in Britain in 2016. I don't either.
No, I'm glad you think that, Victoria, because I don't think it would be at all. I think we give people far too little credit, because people are fundamentally decent and people are kind. And, you know, everyone's got a gay cousin or a gay brother or a gay friend, or they know gay people. Society has changed and sport's got to grow up. And look at Tom Daley. Tom Daley came out, and in fact, his fan base has increased. We teenage girls still have posters of Tom Daley on the walls of their bedrooms, and plenty of wee boys too. And I understand his sponsorship has increased. So the other fear that they often had, that there would be some kind of financial implication for them, has been disproved.
Jamie, let me ask you about, I don't know if you've done research into this particularly, teammates. If a Premier League footballer currently playing came out, how would teammates react, do you think?
Well, there's been footballers that have gone on record to say that they would support openly gay teammates, and there must be closeted footballers in the system of football that are out to their teammates, but not necessarily out publicly. So
right.
I would say it's good to hear in terms of what people are saying, but my research supports a lot of what has been said in terms of the culture of football, the culture of sport is improving. We still have progress to be made, but we've come a long way from where we were, say, in the 1990s.
Okay. All right. I mean, Sophie, that argument about abuse from home fans, abuse from away fans, what would you say to that as somebody who's there week in, week out?
The thing is, it's the point, people are inherently decent, and players get abuse anyway. They get it from the opposition fans, they get it from their own fans, and I don't think it's going to be any worse if they were gay. And I think that their teammates would be so supportive, because to be a professional footballer, you've got to be a very focused, very committed person, and inherently these are all very, very good men, and I've got a lot of respect for them.
We've got to remember, though, it's not just football, because when the Olympic Games were on, there was, only 23 athletes out of thousands. So it's a problem across sport. It's a problem in rugby, it's a problem in cricket and elsewhere.
I'm going to ask you quickly before we go, as an SNP MP, you'd expect me to ask you about your colleague Angus McNeil.
He's not gay.
No, it's not about that. It's whether he's been using taxpayer-funded expenses for staying in a hotel in London, whether he's done anything wrong.
Do you know what the rules are, Victoria?
Yes.
OK, well then you'll know, like I know, that in fact you save the taxpayer money if you stay in a hotel for 5 days rather than renting a flat for 7 days. So as I understand...
The taxpayers should be grateful.
Grateful's the wrong word. It's just not a story.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, all of you. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. Have a good day. Back tomorrow.